experienced jungler, you want to get him off those picks that he's very comfortable on, and I think he's had some of his best games on the Hecarim. I usually think that FPX's best champion to go for is going to be the Corki, since I think that's the champion that Gori has consistently had good team fighting performances on, right? But they don't even opt for that, right? They go for the Ryze, looking to maybe set up something in mid-jungle. Maybe they're looking to actually capitalize on that.
I mean, it's interesting.
Deficit that they've had in the past.
Yeah, like, you know, putting him in a better position. When we talk about Gori versus Strive, Strive is bigger in the matchup, in the 1v1. Just frankly, Strive has been a better player when we talk about the laning phase. So for Rare Adam, curious as how they respond, as iBoy's already got the Jinx. Support was talked about, but here it's an early Orianna for Strive up against Ryze. So nothing too exciting here, Kelsey, but pretty standard picks at the moment.
Yeah, and Ryze will still be able to get the wave clear in the laning phase, still be able to look for these roams, but Orianna can trade back fairly decently into the lane, so not uncommon to see the Orianna picked into that. Orianna Jinx also, already I feel like there's a much more defined front-to-back team composition from Rare Adam, which we kind of expected, whereas I think with the Ryze, with the Viego, FPX are going to maybe look for more side lanes, more of a pick composition going through for the rest of the draft.
I mean, that's interesting to me because, you know, relying on Gori as well, especially with his map movements, has been not too bad. And if we go back to junglers, I need to pause because today's been the day of Rek'Sai. You weren't too much of a fan of Volibear, so interested to see if this gets locked in. But again, we go past it, and Yuyanjia returns to the Nautilus.
Cycling through jungle picks, there's still quite a few, so they choose to prioritize the support and ban 2. I think that, again, I would prefer to see something like a Thresh, maybe, or a Tom Kench for this side of Rare Adam, but we are going to see them ban those champions away to put them on a bit more of an even footing instead. And then, hopefully, FPX will be looking to target some jungle picks to have Rare Adam forced to kind of dig deep. And oh my gosh, they went for the Volibear ban bait. So that's relieving some pressure on Rare Adam. Things like Lee Sin are still up. So we'll see what they end up banning on the 5th ban and what Rare Adam end up pulling out.
And Jarvan as well, things that are still left up and available.
Yeah.
Hung's Rakan, something that has been pretty decent too. So alongside LWX, the pool shrunk quite a lot, but we've seen some great Leonas tonight. I think Hung would be, you know, well and truly along that list. As for FPX, that final jungle ban, Leyan hovered something like the Rek'Sai too. So let's just assume FPX are going to get rid of it.
And since Hung has been willing to pick the Lulu, right, you could go for the Jarvan here on Rare Adam, and then you're playing Jarvan into Aphelios Lulu, which, as the game goes on, you engage into that, and you just get shredded, right, because of the Lulu ultimate, and then Aphelios being able to do a lot of damage in basically a concentrated force. So I do prefer the Lee Sin in that case, if you're keeping that kind of pick in mind.
Well, Leyan's still been a decent enough champion.
That's a ban of cheating.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
And he does go for the Lee Sin.
So standard stuff. We talked about, you know, Hung on the other side, going something like the Leona. We still need a top laner for xiaolaohu, and Gwen's taken. So what is another safe blind here you take as a top laner of FPX, who has been pretty decent within his laning phase?
So I would say that xiaolaohu is actually a decent Jayce player, and if they are setting up for the Ryze side lane pressure, they can go for something like that as well. I do think that obviously there's still a couple of picks that you can come out that are decent into the Jayce, but I don't know about the Gnar as a blind. I was going to suggest even something like Aurelia would feel decently into this composition, because the only real source of CC that's going to bother you is the Leona. Aurelia not necessarily that common anymore, but you can also see something like the Tryndamere coming out potentially into the Gnar if you're going to blind that. Typically, actually, I think of Cube when I think of Gnar, so it's possible that they're thinking of that. I remembered the series where Adam played against FPX actually in spring playoffs, where he went for the Hail of Blades Gnar and ended up having it banned away from him. So
yeah.
Good times.
I remember. We get the Jayce in the end. You know, for Cube as well, I think of things like Gnar, Scion, like Cube moves to very different angles, but this time around, going for the Jayce. And Kelsey, you're gonna have to walk me through RA's composition, because we've got a bit of poke built up here by Cube. We have a lot of big burst damage now with Orianna, Lee Sin, and how this game kind of transitions with it.
Yeah, and I think the thing I like about Orianna's composition is it is a good front-to-back composition, but they just generally outrange FPX at every turn. So that sort of limits FPX's ability to execute the game outside of really playing through the Ryze. And that's what I'm going to be looking for him to get an advantage, or to get an advantage through a side lane, realm warp into a fight with a numbers advantage, and then try to pick off members of Rare Atom as they walk into neutrals. But again, we talked about the flip scenario, so if both teams are just running towards a neutral objective, I have to think RA had the edge to an extent.
Okay, well, again, using Gori at the very least, being so pivotal in this game, you know, kind of setting up the narrative we talked about, where Gori outside the laning phase, that's been the focus here, and how well he's played has been, again, outside of the first 15, 20 minutes through directly the mid lane. The Strive laning phase has been pretty good. So here on the Orianna versus Gori, we're going to see if he can keep him pinned down in a very comfortable position. RA versus FPX. Both teams sitting 4 and 5 right now in the standings. Both teams need this win. Now, Rare Atom been on a 3-win streak. They beat LGD, they beat TT, but that TT series, nobody go back and watch it. What a waste of 3 hours. Versus RNG, it was a 2-0, which was a much better performance. But for FPX, 2 loss streak. We're talking top esports, EDG, hard teams, so it can be dismissed for now. But RA a team that realistically they should be able to find a win on if they are able to keep in the top 10, keep in playoff standings as we move into week 6. So Kelsey, you already talked about it. Gori is pivotal here in this matchup on the Ryze, and we're going to see when he gets level 6 how he can affect those side lanes, because I'm curious, xiaolaohu decided to pick this Gnar blind, and Cube got himself a nice time.
Yeah, I think the old classic Gnar Ryze duo used to be pretty strong in sides when Gnar was overtuned, but now I think the advantage definitely goes to Jayce. If they want to, right, they can set up a guaranteed three-wave crash versus Gnar, which always kind of, because Gnar's very squishy, and that's a little unfortunate, because that usually forces your jungle to path towards your top side, and then if your jungle doesn't get invaded, it's kind of a boon, because top lane will be pushing in, and if Lee Sin doesn't get the dive off, then he can probably deny camps. So they did prep for that by warding the blue buff level 1 as well.
Yeah, one on each side. Raptor camp warded against Leyan as well. So both junglers pathing towards the top side for now. A note as well, there is a cheeky little pixel brush ward down there, and it's one placed here by Strive. So Vision's going to be talked about a lot in this game, as already we have 5. Maybe 4, I can't count. So I'll be watching, because for Beichuan, his return to the FPX lineup, bit of a surprise as I saw that this morning. FPX have been using Flid for the most part in the past couple of weeks, and you know, he came all the way back from Korea. He went through quarantine, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to return to trying Beichuan once again.
Yeah, and Cube already doing a pretty good job of chunking HP onto xiaolaohu, denying him some CS, getting level 2 first, where Strive looking for the same kind of pressure on mid.
Yeah, good start to the solo laners. We've seen a lot of Jayce go well in the laning phase tonight, but Strive, we know with the narrative how it works out. Beichuan moving to mid lane. Now this could be a flash as Root comes through, but they're not letting him burn the summoner. Beichuan in, and he's returned to the LPL with a grand first blood.
And you have to respect that Strive had something in mind, right? He was standing towards the bot side of the map. He had the ward placed there, but Beichuan, pretty smart pathing decision there. Does his 3 bot camps and then walks all the way around mid to top side to get a little bit of a drop on Strive in that position. So even though Strive was leaning very heavily to bot, he was in a position where Ryze just had to drop the snare, and fast follow-up, plenty of burst damage coming out of Beichuan.
And easy to elevate the laning phase against Gori when, you know, Beichuan is going to come in that early. So even though Strive has a bit of a CS advantage at this point, at bottom lane, hang on, Ignite down, flash away, Yuyanjia, Lwx matching it in the 2v2. We talked about this. Lwx and Hung again, huge chat.
Yeah, and with the Leona Aphelios, you're definitely in a position where you don't want to fight much level 1 versus Jinx Nautilus. So pretty tamed restraint coming out from Hung there, but as soon as they dingle level 3, Hung's constantly looking for the angle. That's when Leona has all 3 of her abilities, very strong, looking to follow up. Also, Lwx flashing aggressively for the kill, so in this position, no matter what, I'm saying, look, Lwx no flash. We could probably make something happen, and talking to the jungle from that perspective as iBoy. So I expect bot to continue to be volatile.
I mean, it's just good layering of CC. I love watching it back. Lwx with Graviton, Zenith Blade, Shield of Daybreak after it expires. Like, a really good duo synergy once again comes through from a lane that's been a highlight. Or he's waiting patiently here. He wants to hit Leyan, but Yuyanjia's right beside him. Won't be able to steal away the scuttle. And I want to bring this back to FPX having a great early game. I think they've had many great early games in this split, Kelsey. And it feels like once again, they're kind of on that wavelength where, okay, bot will do well within the lane, and Beichuan is just going to try and affect everything else.
Yeah, and the Ryze, I think, to your point before, is something that might compensate a bit for the laning phase, because you can easily set up for a 2v2 scenario, and if that isn't well warded, or you're not expecting the wraparound, easy to get a gank off from that.
Okay, well, a bit of damage comes down. Gori has Ignite down, ticks through. FPX in a bit of trouble as iBoy flashes for it. Gets excited, and in the team fight environment, iBoy stepping up and cleanses through. Now is going to give one back to Lwx. And Beichuan goes as well. On the backside, Gori dies. And the shockwave was just leveled up. Okay, RA are back in the game, and that was just a big fight over a very early dragon.
Yeah, engaging into that choke there. Good play set up from Strive. Pretty decent ultimate coming through at that point. And then we saw a bit of the classic iBoy, aggressive, wanting to 1v2 as the Jinx. So it does go down for that, but making a lot of damage and a lot of space in the game. So we'll see how this goes through. So ends up getting the basically just everyone all inning versus the Orianna and the Jinx. Plenty of damage coming down.
And yeah, I think overall, like, just FPX wanting to start the fight. Hung flash over the wall. Look, bot. Gori making his first move with the Realm Warp here. And now that the fighting's begun, they can't stop. Hung underneath the turret. He's stunned up, though, and he'll take the next shot. Yuyanjia gets blasted, too. And Lwx will help give a double over to Beichuan. Welcome back once again to the FPX jungler. He's 3-1-1.
Yeah, he's doing very proactive, setting up smart plays. Basically, as soon as you know that fight happens, Lwx probably are going to be back on the map. Death timers are still really low, so they're going to get that wave in, and they're already probably prepping from the dive from base at that point. So as soon as we're at him, come to catch the wave, FPX is there to set up the dive and get the counter for the big fight that they had over Dragon. 10
kills in 7 minutes as well. So we've got a Herald coming up, and now I'm just going to wait and see what happens around an actual objective, because as the dive comes through, a Beichuan close to getting that Divine Sunderer. We've also got a Serrated Dirk up in that top lane on Cube. I'm just looking at item components. Maybe not the time. That was a flash from Beichuan. They got iBoy. They know he doesn't have cleanse. He got max range. That would have looked ridiculous if he missed. But he knows his range. He knows his limit. The level 6 on this man now achieved with another kill going to Lwx. I mean, Beichuan coming back. This is a completely brand spanking new FPX.
Oh yeah, I mean, the flash looked almost comical there, but he's on a very narrow window before Leyan can meet him on bot side, because both junglers are in a position where they want to get the bot wave in so that they can rotate top of the ring at that window. So you can expect Leeson to show up eventually, even if his top camps are respawning on that window. So looking for the window, making sure he gets the flash that I think from that position a lot of Viego's wouldn't take, right?
Yeah.
So definitely nice play from Beichuan coming out, Rare Adam getting punished, and this should be just a Rift Herald coming out with Leona's early roam.
I mean, also, there's Divine Sunder on Beichuan at 8 minutes in the game, so looks like Leyan's got to respect this here without his full Mythic completed. As Herald gets pulled out a little bit, the whole of FPX solo lanes move down as well and sit adjacent in the river. So Herald goes down, Beichuan picks that one up with ease. And in this early game, gold lead might not be there, but we have a 3-1 Aphelios here with the bounty. We've got a 3-1 Viego as well. Gori in a decent enough position, and his Realm Warp's coming up again, Kelsey. So I feel like we're going to keep an eye on this mid laner who might not be winning the lane, but is definitely doing a lot for FPX in this early game.
Yeah, and you know, you say not winning the lane with a grain of salt because he is doing relatively well in this matchup as another wave is coming in, so he's going to equalize that farm disadvantage just a bit. Also, one thing, as we're getting a flank, so maybe I'll come back to this point later.
Shockwave, he's got a flash available, gets narrowly through it. Leyan now under turret, Strive is low as well. Beichuan there, taking a turret shot on the way out. Strive lucky that Beichuan used his flash on the back end of the bottom side trade. And once again, FPX happy with that after a lot was used, and Gori's flash was only achieved.
And I'm really impressed by Beichuan on his return here, even though he isn't necessarily, I should say actually, even though Leyan's looking for these plays, Beichuan's almost always waiting in the wings, right? Making something happen in terms of a counter gank, always in position to sort of read where his laners are available, vulnerable, excuse me. Orianna getting the wave crash in, knowing that maybe something might be up, just calmly taking those raptors at the same time, and the execution doesn't come through, but still, he has his presence there in case there's a 2v2 breaks out, and to your point, he's got the Divides under. No one can deal with this guy at this point.
Oh, he's so far ahead. Tabi just picked up in the base as well. And with that Herald still in play, still to be placed down, Dragon coming up in 25 seconds becomes a little bit easier here for FPX. Leyan moves to river first, starts cleaning away some of these wards. But I want to point out, Gori's ulti back up and available. Hung having his solar flare. There's big ultimates there. No shockwave for Strive for the next 15 seconds. But xiaolaohu on the top side does not have Gnar ulti and no TP as Cube's teleport will be up and available, bar it being unleashed. So feels like here there's benefits both teams as Herald's just going to be placed in the bottom lane as Gori's caught out once again. Shockwave almost there. He gets the root down. Leyan with a kick flash, and now Strive is going to bring it in nice and close. Nice little head up here from Yuyanjia as well as the Herald gives turret plating while their mid laner dies.
Yeah, and you get the sense that from FPX dropping that Rift Herald, they didn't necessarily want to contest this Dragon on that window, so positioning from Gori a little bit strange at that position. Rare Adam capitalizing pretty effectively, but regardless, I would say I'd much rather have a full T1 turret with all plates on my Aphelios than a Dragon, so a Dragon and a kill onto Gori.
I mean, it's a 1,000 gold lead now because of it as well. First turret in under 12 minutes, and you see 3-1. He already had the Gale Force before this back coming through. And we've been talking a lot about Beichuan, that Cloak of Agility, that longsword picked up, more than humongous here. iBoy trailing in both CS and items at this point. And you know, Kelsey, still good things to say as we look at the replay. And this is Gori getting caught out. You talked about not being coordinated with the rest of FPX.
Yep, and I think he's just kind of posturing up a little bit too much there, maybe afraid of getting zoned off with a mid-wave because there's so much attention from his team on the bot side, but also, I mean, Strive went for it, man. He didn't even necessarily connect anything, but he saw the angle, and it almost felt like he was commanding Leyan to follow him up.
That's what you want to see out of the new mid laner here in the LPL. Strive being someone we talked about in the laning phase, hasn't had a chance to show off in this game, number one. You know, Beichuan came in for the early flash burn, pushed him out, and ever since, I shouldn't say early flash burn, it was first blood that came through and set Beichuan off into motion. So it definitely feels like here for RA's mid lane, he hasn't had the chance to actually dominate Gori. Instead, Gori has been threatening the Realm Warp usages. Once again, doing the same thing. Look at this. The whole of FPX off to a wing. They'll be spotted out. We're not even Realm Warping at this point. Yuyanjia and iBoy on the defensive as they want another tier 1 turret in close to under 14 minutes.
To an extent, RA's bot lane can't really necessarily do a whole lot versus FPXs at this point, so they're incentivized to swap, but because there wasn't any priority top or any priority in bot lane, Lwx and Hung have more than enough time to just rotate and match the swap, so they didn't really necessarily get anything out of that. The one thing that's a little bit surprising and disappointing to me from, you know, the RA perspective is they're only just now looking to capitalize on Cube.
Yep.
In general, xiaolaohu has been doing very well at this laning phase. He's pretty even in CS. He wasn't really punished for losing as much HP as he did
Heartbreaker.
early.
Hang on. Leyan gets the slight kick back. Doesn't matter. Beichuan going to help give a kill over to Gori. Realm Warp straight away. Look at this reaction. Even on a ward, Cube running for his life. Ward spots him out. Flash over from Hung. Burns one from Cube. You know what? That's what we're talking about. Hung always wants to flash forward.
Yeah, and this is the FPX pick comp coming through, right? Immediately, xiaolaohu knows that Leon's in the area. There's someone threatening him under tower. The fact that their FPX's bot lane is so far ahead means they're going to get mid-prio and rotate first, so they just end up picking off that Lee Sin and just executing on the realm work. Split-second decision-making, making sure that those picks happen and extend FPX's lead.
So walk me through drafts a little bit closer again, how they operate, because Gori has kind of ticked the window of adding pressure with Realm Warp, doing well enough in his laning phase. xiaolaohu against this Jayce hasn't really suffered. Beichuan is ahead, and Lwx is way too far ahead for their own good. We see that there's, you know, decent poke on RA, but people like Strive, iBoy need a couple of items before they're relevant in this game and can match anything that FPX is sending out.
Yeah, so effectively, no one can really match Gori inside lane as the game goes on. The other thing to take note of is the fact that typically you would have the Jinx clear the way more efficiently from a longer range than the Aphelios would, but basically you have a Leona and a really fed Aphelios willing to engage on anyone who threatens to touch their wave, even if they do outrange you. So at this point, you have a good setup for basically Gori constantly rotating to neutrals before everyone else and setting up traps for picks with the snare coming out, with Beichuan following up with Viego.
Looks so easy at this point. Leona's tonight have been pretty clutch, and I also want to point out that we're 30 seconds away from a dragon. Now, RA have picked up the first two of this objective as Hung is by himself. Dredgeline on a whim, not going to lollipop this time around. But Gori's now joined in, avoids the shock blast combination, and xiaolaohu is walking up from the bottom lane. Gnar going to be something I'm watching for as well as that solar flare that could separate RA. Taking a bit of poke damage for now, and Cube doesn't land any of his, so with the Herald down, it feels like it's FPX favored as they move into River.
And this is kind of a situation where maybe...
Solar flare. Okay, Beichuan's in the back line on top of Cube. Jayce runs in hammer form. Shockwave though on the back end. Deletes Hung while Gori has them in a bit of a pyroclasm. xiaolaohu about to go Mega Gnar. Mega Death Rocket though. Gets in low strive. Jumps back in. xiaolaohu has his ulti there, but he's not going to risk it. Instead, FPX move up to mid lane turret. They know they've lost the dragon. They've lost the fight. And for RA, it's the gold trade versus the soul point.
Yeah, and as I was saying just as the fight started, this is a situation where Orianna can maybe come back into this game because they aren't using that side lane pressure. They basically just ignored a giant wave crashing to the top side in order to group mid with a range disadvantage and then walk into the choke versus an Orianna Jinx comp. So let's take a look at exactly what starts this off. So they use only the Leona ulti on the Jayce. He manages to shield off. Beichuan basically catapulted into iBoy Yuyanjia Leyan, where he just gets CC'd and goes down, and that's most of the gold that's available still on Rare Atom. And meanwhile, we have Strive and the rest of the members able to contend with Lwx.
I mean, it's a massive bounty that was taken off Beichuan. Further to your point, into Yuyanjia, Cube, hammer blasted backwards. And Cube wasn't able to get the reset that the Viego desperately needed in the fight, so a slick move from RA. They now move to Soul Pointers, out with the nice little Hex Gate in the nick of time, I might add. No objectives up for a little while. It's Baron in 1:40, which we'll hold our breath for, but Dragon in 4 minutes time. And Kelsey, remember, you and I talked about what makes these teams so exciting. Now, with the Baron, with even the Soul Point Dragon. Both these teams work at LPL honors. And we just want to know who's going to be flipping the burgers today.
Yeah, I mean, so far both of them, right? Exactly what we talked about before, where instead of setting up and taking the steps to set up that dragon, both teams just kind of went mid. And that's the resulting fight that we saw, because RA's composition in those positions are favored, and of course, Cube ended up playing that engage relatively well, with the rest of the team waiting in their wings to pick that up. So if it continues to go like this, we're going to get some cheese side up burgers, as we like to say in North American Amateur. Okay. Throwback for Orianna, which means the way you want it, as opposed to
okay. Well, cheese side, I wouldn't understand that. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I explained the reference now.
When I get my burgers, you know, here at Hungry Jack's or McDonald's or wherever we get them from. Hungry Jack's, Burger King, by the way. Fun story was that in Australia, Burger King couldn't actually buy the naming rights to Burger King. It's owned by someone else. So they had to call it Hungry Jack's. So they kind of got stiffed a bit there. But point is, I go for the Wagyu beef first. You got to get something that has the meat. Okay. The meat has to be top quality, then everything else builds upon. And I think in the LPL, as Beichuan ulties out of the back of pit after getting caught out, feel like we need the quality meat. And the quality meat is in front of that Baron. And we want to see who flips it first. For FPX, off on the wing here. RA found the inside track towards mid. xiaolaohu doesn't have Mega Nut. Hung flashes forward, Solar Flare, but quickly Strive ulties himself. That from Lwx wasn't the greatest one, as Gori realm warps it. FPX just used so much in the span of 30 seconds.
Yeah, and very nice reaction from RA to basically that hard commit. Dropping the zone is looking for a better setup there. So now they just get the mid 2-1 and they force FPX to burn multiple ultimates for free. Doesn't matter that much unless they're going to threaten a Baron here, which I don't necessarily think they want to do. They'd probably rather make sure that they're still in a better position itemization-wise before they start doing that, but that's definitely on the docket, is basically RA just walking in, controlling the Baron vision, and trying to force FPX to walk into them or feel threatened by it, so they're not allowed to leave Gori inside lane.
No, at this point he's 2 items strong, going to Ryze tank build as well, so it's going to be pretty fun to watch him amongst these fights. Cube matching his wave for now. And at 21 minutes in the game, I guess we're just going to be waiting for Soul Point. RA have vision control up to their knees at this point. Beichuan walking into River with Hung, but RA threatening with Yuyanjia with Strive. Remember that Orianna now has 2 items, so that shockwave catches you out. Not only is it going to be big pick potential, it is going to burst you down. I'm pretty scared right now because RA, gold even, Kelsey. Soul Point is going to move into Soul if FPX can't get this steal.
And you actually see Cube willing to take this away in order to get some gold onto Jayce, right? To be able to threaten his boat later on as it goes. So I don't know why the rest of RA are posturing here, probably just to stall time and allow Cube to basically grab 2 turrets for this. So I don't exactly know. If FPX want to commit, they may as well commit, man.
Yeah, without Sulfur, I mean, they're walking up, the pings are going towards Baron. FPX might want to leave someone on towards Dragon, but they're like, no, we're going to fight it for now. Baron's going to start. It's iBoy on Jinx, plus Strive on an Orianna. It won't be the quickest, but hell, it'll be quick enough. FPX still not buying the bluff right now, and we're ready to flip it. But someone's going to start it to flip it as Dragon's being started. They're running back. Kelsey, RA is starting it again.
Yeah, I mean, this is what RA want to do, right? They want FPX to kind of walk into them so they can...
Oh no, Lwx is dead.
Right.
Oh no, okay, Dragon's gonna go down, but what did it cost? Absolutely everything. 5 members still alive for RA in front of the Baron, and FPX have 3. Beichuan, you flip Barons all the time. Actually, no, that's split. Now we believe in you, but he's not even gonna look near it. FPX may be learning, while RA pick up the purple worm.
Yeah, and I think one of the big mistakes there, just in general, was FPX rotating to the Dragon so early, so that there was enough time before it even spawned. I was thinking, wow, they should just be doing Dragon right now, but Dragon hadn't even spawned, and Cube was just cutting through 2 turrets, right? So ideally you'd have someone matching him, be contesting that top wave so that you can rotate to Dragon first.
Kelsey.
And they use that
Yep.
agency, right, with FPX still on the pit, and then they go and they pull Dragon, and FPX face check into them and die. So better map rotations coming out of Orianna, as much as we kind of talked about who was going to be the burger flip king. Orianna not really opting for the flips as much as FPX is.
No. There's definitely a disparity in flipping going on. But look, hey, for FPX, at least they got the Dragon. But again, what RA got from the Baron play and the picks just before it, folks, we're at a 4K gold disparity against FPX. RA putting them in a bit of a corner at this point, and iBoy as well. He's caught up on items a bit. 2.5 years, teleport comes down. They want the tier 2. Cube's going to stick around mid lane, and FPX are spread thin in a game that it just feels like they have no control in any longer.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot you can do versus a Baron team, even if you are a Ryze, right? Ooh, what is Beichuan doing here?
Okay, well, Beichuan caught out from a great early game to whatever that was. FPX might be saying GG, go next.
And this is a lot of times when you have your less experienced players, they show it a bit more in the mid game, right? Just in terms of not really knowing where they should position on the map, how they need to set up for these things, what timing is, how to command the rest of the team. So usually, you know, when you're a solo queue superstar, games just end after you snowball your team. So.
RA, we want to see them close it out. You talk about the experience difference. I think the big thing for me is that RA, you know, closing out games hasn't always been clean this split. RA decision making hasn't always been clean this split. Against TT, I had the misfortune of telecasting that, and that was an interesting series. So RA, I'm skeptical on, but at the very least, here in this game number 1, they've been clean. They've been, you know, really accelerating now that they've found a couple of those picks. Decision making's been great, and as the minion wave continues channeling in, tier 3 goes down on the bottom side. It's an inhibitor next, and Kelsey, this is going to be a massive gold lead. Supers spawning down, 2 minutes till Dragon, everything lining up in RA's favor.
Yeah, and basically at this point, they have already have set up the vision on bot side, so FPX are going to have to retake that before they can even match them top. So for Adam, going to push that wave all the way in and then rotate to the Dragon, and that's going to be a situation where they should just be in position to grab a free Hextech soul. So again,
Free win.
a lot of Hextech souls today.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly enough, we've only had one Infernal, the rest have been Hextech, so I didn't actually catch the Dragons in the first series, so that's my bad, but we definitely had them a lot in our last series.
The only important thing about the first series was the rhetoric and, you know, the vouching for Thunder Talk and LGD as the secret sleeper OP teams in the league.
Yeah. TT are going to Worlds, in fact, for 2022. Just going to have to see a really good summer as, you know, the funny thing is with that team, TT are 1-8. I will tell you one thing, that TT, they need to start getting some serious wins for us to have confidence in them. Hung up against the wall. A good little shockwave here. He doesn't move at all, and that's easy, doesn't. Lwx burnt out as the fight begins. Beichuan, who was so unstoppable in the early game, now begins to die. Strive from the wing. Beautiful stuff. xiaolaohu, I don't even think I've seen a big Gnar ulti at all this game. There's your first one. And there's your last. Strive will clean him up with Leyan doing the same. On top of Gori, he's meant to be a tank. iBoy is lethal tempoing to hell. Let's end this one in under 30 minutes because RA want to go to LPL, Donald.
Yeah, they're going to pick up some nice, freshly flipped burgers from the FPX merchants and have a great night going into game 2.
Nice little takeaway. RA clean it up. Game number 1 over to them and a step closer to evening out their series score in the LPL. I'm not sure what happened with FPX, but past the early game, it all went to hell.
Yeah, and you do have to keep in mind, this is a new FPX. There are a lot of inexperienced members on this team outside the bottom lane. Gori has been around for a while, but it's been most of his time basically as a trainee mid laner for either EDG or for SKT T1, excuse me, it's T1, as you say. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're injecting Beichuan into the roster as well. Then you're going to have a top side that's a little bit distracted. And then, of course, LWX and Hong as the primary leaders and voices on that team. Generally speaking, they just want to fight, as far as I can tell from watching their games. So looking for a general direction coming out of this FPX roster.
All the time. Like, Hung had some really great engagements in the early game. And again, there were some beautiful moments to watch from FPX. They had control in the first 15, let's say first 14 minutes to be precise with turret plating. But when lanes started moving around, a couple of really good picks here. And I think I've got to give credit to people, someone like Leyan. Leyan again on this Lee Sin, kind of playing the mid game a lot better. And you talked about the experience difference. While FPX have the moving parts and incorporating Beichuan back into the roster, this RA roster's been together the whole split and have been trying to, you know, level up as we've been going on. They're at a 3-win streak, and you can kind of see why through this game number 1.
And there are 3 World Championship attendees on this Rare Atom roster, whereas with FPX you only have the 1.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a difference just in the gap there. So definitely more decisive play coming from Rare Atom, way less burger flipping than expected. Better control on the timing when they want to be around neutrals and knowing how to play their comp, just front to back, wait for them to commit into us, use the Orianna shockwave and go from there.
Yeah, because for Strive, like, all he had to do was pull out a couple of big shockwaves, and that's all it took. In front of the Dragon fight, you know, pivotal moment coming through from him, you know, incorporating the backline, Cube as well, alongside Yuyanjia. A lot to dissect. Kelsey, we can have a break when we return.